Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Believe You Are a Good Mom podcast. I have a special guest today, Jill, the connection coach. Jill Wright is here. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Emily. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yay, so fun. Okay, so let's just jump right in. You want to introduce yourself?
Great. I'm a life, money, and connection coach. I help coaches connect with their message, their purpose, and their mission to build a profitable business, all while honoring who they truly are. That's something that I haven't always done. And when I discovered that, and when I discovered how much more rewarding the journey is when you show up as 100% you, I thought, everybody needs to know this. So
Oh,
I,
good.
yeah,
I love that so much, honoring who you truly are, because that's my whole message. You are a good mom. So,
you
interesting point. Jill
are.
Wright is not a mom. So that's a first, I think. Well, I have had dads, but so Jill doesn't have kids, but these principles apply to everyone. And that is what I think is so fun. And so, as we
Yeah,
say in business, like Jill is a business coach, right? That our niche is really just for marketing purposes. So, if I'm trying to get your attention and get you to listen to my podcast, then maybe you're a mom with young kids because that's who I'm kind of fishing for. But once you're here, go ahead and listen, whoever you are. It doesn't matter,
yeah,
what classification you might fit under. The message is good for everyone, especially this message, honoring who you truly are. So when I try to share the message that you are a good mom, basically what I'm doing is let's tap into who you really are. And then the behaviors will follow after that. And so
absolutely.
who you are may or may not be a mom, but it is the principle of the thing, like the pattern that I'm teaching works for whatever you want to do. So you are a $1 million coach, or you are a successful entrepreneur, or whatever label you want to call it. The principle is the same. So I'm excited to learn about honoring who we really are and how we can figure that out. Your message, your purpose, and your what else did you say?
Your mission.
Mission. Yeah, so good. Okay. So
Yeah.
teach us about that. Or you can finish
Yeah.
introducing yourself because I feel like I interrupted you. Either way.
No, that's all good. Yep. You are not wrong.
That's right. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. And I didn't even realize I was doing this. I think so many people do this subconsciously is they are trying to always do it right.
Yes.
And I would have never said that about myself, but that is for sure what I have recognized over the last year or so. And I keep building my awareness around it. When I catch myself striving, or when I catch myself like performing for something, even in my spiritual life, I find myself performing so that I
Mhm.
can be right for God, right?
So good.
Um,
Yes.
yeah. And so just being able to recognize that in everything I do and build awareness around it so that I can shift back to, okay, who am I trying to be and why? Is it aligned with who I really am? Is it aligned with what I really value? And so the journey that I've been on for like the last year or so has really opened my eyes to so much of that. And last year at this time, I called myself Jill the Money Coach because that's what I coached on. I coached on money mindset. Now, a lot of people confuse me being a money coach with doing everything, all the tactics, but I really was about the mindset because you can get lots and lots of good information about finances, about money. You can hire financial advisors, tax advisors, any kind of advisor you want when it comes to finances.
Uh-huh.
And you can get all that information. And I'm not about information. I'm about, okay, what do we do with that information? And what I realized over the past year, and I actually took a break in my business at the end of June, and I just started back full time, which is really part time for me
Uh-huh. Right.
in my business the first of the year.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I think that God led me to take this break to slow down is to recognize that my value doesn't come from anything I do, from anything I
Yes.
have, and from anything I produce or create. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn. And but it was so valuable because
Yes, I want to
now I
shout
can
it from the rooftop. Say it again.
exactly. Yeah.
Hallelujah. Your value does not come from anything you do or create or produce or whatever. Like all those things
I
are good. We would like doing those, but it doesn't create our
yeah.
value.
Yeah.
It creates more
So
value in
whether
the world, maybe, but it doesn't
yeah.
determine our own personal value. So good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a lot of my clients as a money coach, a lot of my clients struggled with that. And that is why that was the tie-in to money.
Mhm.
But what I realized during this time is that it was more, they were struggling about with more than just money.
Mhm.
And what it actually came down to was connection. So
Yes, I want to
money,
delve into that. Hold on, let me introduce you.
yeah,
Whatever, interrupt for a second. Because you said something way back when. I gotta just say it so I can get it out of my head so we can move on. Because I want to talk
love
about
it.
connection for sure. Okay. Um, it's not about information. So you were coaching on money mindset, and I'm a parent coach, but I'm not giving you information. Maybe you've noticed this, that my podcast is
Yes,
a little different, that I'm not like, here's how to get your kid to go to bed. Here's how to potty train. Here's how to like get them to stop fighting. There's so, like you said, there's so much information out there. There's 400,000 parenting books you can read if that's what you want. But what are you doing with that information? So I'm not going to give you more information that you're just going to use as ammo to beat yourself up because you're not doing it right. That's what we're talking about today. You're not wrong. So it's not about getting more information. You have plenty of information. The information you need, you already had. You didn't even have to read those books. Like you have your internal compass, your internal intuition, following the Holy Ghost, whatever you want to call it. God is guiding you. You have to tap into that. And so that is the mindset piece. That's the like the spiritual piece. That's the piece that we're helping people with, right, Jill? Is it's not like, let me
absolutely.
give you more information about money or more information about parenting. But what do you do with that information? Or how do you get like the information that honors who you really are? Oh, I love it. So good. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I know. I'm just like all fired up now.
Yeah.
I'm, I'm like, yes, 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 preach.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's connect it to connection then. So what is this connection thing all about?
Yeah. And so the reason that we tend to feel like we're doing it wrong, or that we're wrong, or that there's something wrong with us, or that we're broken, or, you can phrase it in a million different
Mhm.
ways because we all have some of that, those underlying beliefs going on, right? They say that, most people, unless you're a sociopath, feel like they're not enough.
Mhm.
And so, that comes from this whole idea that you're doing it wrong. And I think the thing that underlies that is that you're not enough. And those are maybe not the words that we would use, but that's what we're connecting to, even if it's subconscious.
Yep.
And when we're connecting to that, we're disconnecting from our value. We're disconnecting from trusting ourself, trusting God, trusting the process, trusting our journey. And that is what is creating the struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, so good. Can I
So
say something?
anywhere that we struggle, it's because we're disconnected from something that we need to connect to, or we're connected to something that we need to disconnect from. So what I mean by that is the limiting beliefs, the stories that maybe you absorbed or adapted to or used to adapt to survive something that you've been through. Like those stories, those limiting beliefs, those are what we're connected to that we need to disconnect from.
Okay.
The
Okay.
stories that serve us, the the empowering beliefs, that's what we need to connect to. Who we really are, who we were created to be, that's what we need to connect to.
Yeah, this is so fun. Okay, so I love to use the metaphor of David in the block of marble. So Michelangelo just chips away the marble until David shows up. And so I feel like us as life coaches, what we do is we help people chip away their limiting beliefs. So when you're saying you're connected to those limiting beliefs, people use the word stuck all the time, right? I just feel stuck, like literally stuck in this block of marble, right? And so when we disconnect from the lies, these limiting beliefs that are not true, they're lies. You are enough, right? So when your brain tells you you're not enough, you say, thanks, brain, for doing your job, but that's a lie. Moving on. So when we take away all the lies, right? So what we want to be connecting to, this is what I'm hearing you saying, is you want to connect to who you really are. So instead of connecting to things outside of us, like the block of marble and all the lies, you tap in and you connect to your true self. That is the connection that's going to get you moving, not stuck, moving. Like you're out of the marble and you're a real, like you're not David made out of marble. You're actually like an eternal being that's like stuck in these limiting belief lies.
Yeah. Connecting to who you are inside that marble and disconnecting from the parts that aren't you. The parts that you're chipping away.
Yeah. Oh, so fun. Okay. So when you talk about comparison and you're not enough, like there needs to be a comparison there in order for that even to like be.
In order for you. Yeah. But a lot of people don't even know what enough looks like.
Yeah. Or what they're comparing themselves to. And so sometimes we can tap into that and we're like, oh, I think I'm a terrible mom compared to that neighbor lady who looks like she has it all put together. Like I'm pointing at her house over there. I can see it. But really, like, I think that when we compare ourselves to our eternal self, like who we inherently are, then we can get some traction. So maybe if our brain is so obsessed with having to compare, could we at least compare it to something useful, right? And so when I always say that guilt is good because it shows that you're doing something out of alignment with who you are. And so if you feel a little twinge, like, oh, I should be doing whatever she's doing, maybe not because she's doing it, but because my true self wants to be doing that. I do want that. Not because I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses, but because who I really am, wants it. And so to get in tune with those messages, you know, so that the guilt doesn't sour into shame. Oh, there's something wrong with me, because you are not wrong. That's our message today. You're not wrong. And you're different because we're all so amazingly different. I'm so fascinated. I love it so much. I love looking at people and how different they look. And then we all try to like fit in some sort of like framework that supposedly we're supposed to look like that. But why would we? Like God made us all so different on the outside and on the inside. So to figure out like who we really are, it's so fun. It's like the fun journey of a lifetime, you know, to remember who we are and live into that. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And I frame it a little bit differently, just because my brain likes to translate everything everybody says into my brain's language. Like I'm constantly translating. What that means to me is, so you said to our eternal self. I love that. I love that phrase so much, and so I'm probably going to steal that. But what I've been calling it is, when I'm in ego energy versus soul energy. When I'm connected to my soul, I show up in the world in soul energy. And so you can compare, like, compare yourself to who you were created to be, who you already are in your soul, at your soul, when your soul was created or whatever. And I think, so I totally agree with that. I like that. Compare yourself to your eternal self and who you know you were created to be, because we are already that person. And so one of the things that life coaches a lot of times say is, you know, become the best version of yourself, or become, you're becoming your future self. But I feel like you are already your future self. The only difference between you and that person, your future self, is that that person doesn't, you know, you're still inside the marble, right? That person, you know, the marble, a lot more pieces of the marble have been chipped away, and they're showing up more as who they always were, who they were created to be.
Yeah, because they're free from all
So,
that. Yes.
yeah.
So good. So good. Yes. Yes to all of that. And I forgot. I didn't write it down. You keep talking while I remember.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and so you kind of alluded to some of the pillars of what I see this journey looks like is first you have to discover who you really are. Who is your eternal self? Who were you created to be? Who are you really inside that marble? And then once you know who you really are, and that is like, what do you value? What do you believe? What do you want to be true about yourself? Um, what are you most connected to? All of those types of things. What are your preferences? Do you like chocolate or do you like vanilla? What are your strengths? What makes you unique? Like all of the different aspects in every area of your life. Um, Determining who you really are, deciding who you really are. And then once you understand that, then you can determine what you really want.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that comes from your deep desires because yeah, we have all of these little surface level desires like I want ice cream for dinner or
Mhm.
I want to watch Netflix instead of um organize my office or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
count those as
I call
deep
those capital
desires.
D desire versus lowercase d, or
Oh,
capital
okay.
W versus like want with a
Yeah.
capital W versus a lower W. Because of course our lower brain wants, with a
Yeah.
lowercase, lower brain
I love
W
that.
or D. But I also, this is what I was going to say earlier, so I'm glad it came back. The the brain is not wrong. Like we don't have to vilify our lower brain. So our brain wants those things and it's not a problem. It's okay. Like nothing's gone wrong here with any of this. This is the condition that God has
Yeah.
put us in on this earth with these bodies for a reason. Like it's all good. It's all part of the plan. Okay. And
Yes.
so, yes, we have our lowercase W's and our lowercase desires, our lowercase wants, and it's all part of like figuring this out. And so we don't have to be like, oh no, it's so terrible that I want ice cream for dinner. Like, let me go get some salmon. It's like, no, it's fine. And that's part of the journey. That's part of learning to oh gosh, it came to me in Spanish. That was weird. Self-mastery, I guess, is kind of the idea. And so we're
Yeah.
down here trying to figure out these bodies and these emotions and these everything, and it's not a problem. Like it's all good. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so if you're trying to figure out what your uppercase desires are, right? Like what your desires are, who you are, right? So
Yeah.
my desire to like lay in my bed, watch Netflix, and eat true fruit may not be like who I am, like with the capital A, but it's who I am. Like I'm also like just the duality of this life is so awesome to just accept instead of fight
Yeah.
against.
Yeah.
That like, yes, I am gonna want to eat ice cream and I am gonna eat that ice cream and I also am gonna start my diet tomorrow or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's all good. Like we have to have that acceptance piece in place before we can make any progress.
Yeah. Yeah. I think judgment has really no place in our lives and no place in our business or in our career or in our families or yeah, in how we interact because I don't think that's how God created. I don't think God created us to be in judgment.
Yeah.
Um
Because
and
what judgment
judgment
means is that there's something wrong. There's a right and a wrong, and we're judging it as wrong. I mean, we might be judging it as right also, like
yeah, I
if
mean
we're
it does
judging.
go both ways and I like to think of it in terms of discernment
Mm, that's a good one.
instead of judgment,
Mhm.
right? I can notice, right? I can discern, but I don't have to judge it as right or wrong. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I like what you're talking about because that kind of came up for me too. I think we
Are synced.
like have similar brain patterns or something. But um I find people a lot of times when they find out about this work, like, oh my gosh, I can change my thoughts and I can change my results and I can change how I feel about things and I don't have to suffer as much. They automatically start judging themselves
Yes.
when they have those thoughts. And I agree with you. There is no reason that doesn't serve us. That
Yeah.
never serves us. It is what it is,
Yeah.
and we can accept all the parts of us,
Yeah.
accept and radically love even all
Yeah.
the parts of us,
Uh-huh.
and have so much grace and compassion. I always tell my clients there is no such thing as too much grace. Keep
Yeah.
letting yourself off the
Off the
hook.
hook. Yes. It's off the hook to be off the hook. I love
It's
it.
off the hook. I love that.
So the
Yeah,
brain is
off.
going to
Yeah.
judge. Like Dr. Paul Jenkins, we talked about this on my podcast of however long ago, because it's just one of the functions of the brain. So again, like we're not
Yeah.
fighting with the way our brains are made. We're accepting
Yeah.
that, okay, the brain is going to judge. Let's call it something different because we've like loaded that word judgment with so much
Yeah.
judgment. And so we're going to discern instead. We're just going to be aware of what's going on. So we always could be better and it could be worse. Like that's just the nature of life. And it's not a problem. So what we're talking about is my AAA batteries. So do you mind if I just run through that real quick? Because I love it so much.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
what we all like need our batteries charged all the time, right? So when we're feeling drained, it's because our batteries are low. And what they are, they're AAA batteries. There's 3 A's. So the first one is awareness. So like you said, when you find coaching, you get awareness that your thoughts are creating your feelings, and then you slip into judgment, which is the second one is acceptance. So we have to have so much acceptance for the human condition and what we're doing and that we're not wrong. We're not doing it wrong. It's fine. It's good. It's okay. And seriously, if you can get those 2 batteries filled up, like it's like magic sauce to get into alignment. And so what we're talking about here is being aligned with who we really are. And we want to force that third battery just by the action line, right? Like just willpower into doing the things. And then we can convince ourselves that we are the thing that we're trying to be. So, giving our kids healthy meals or getting them to bed on time or whatever it is that we classify as a good mom, if we did those things, we're like trying to do those things and then making ourselves wrong that we can't do them. And it's this vicious cycle that we're stuck in, right? And so I propose to get out of that cycle to fill up your first 2 batteries first. Like the actions will fall in alignment, I promise, if you have the awareness and the acceptance of the awareness, then you can make progress. So that's your AAA battery.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
because when you are being who you really are, you are going to do the
yeah,
things that you do.
yeah. It's just
And
so funny
those
because
are always going to be good enough.
yeah, good enough. Oh, that's okay. Something else. Hold on. It's just funny because we're limited by language, right? And we're also
Mhm.
like blessed by language, right? We're not going to vilify the language either. So be, right? What kind of mom do you want to be? People always tell me what kind of mom they want to do. The actions is what they think of as being. And I just realized this morning, it's funny because behavior even starts with B. So of course, what we're doing or what our kids are doing is what we think is who they are. But it's not. Like this is the message I want to shout from the rooftops. Like I really want to change everyone's mentality about this. What you do is not who you are. Your
Yes.
behavior is not who you are. You just are
Yeah.
who you are. And then the behavior follows once you really believe in who you are.
Yeah. And I don't, and I didn't, I'm pretty sure you talk about the model.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So, I mean, I see my identity as outside the model,
Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
My identity is, I am who I am, regardless of my model,
Yeah.
right? My identity does
Yes.
not reside in my model,
Mhm.
and my actions don't come from my identity. And my identity doesn't come from my actions.
Amen.
It's, I mean, I guess if you were going to put the identity in the model, I think it would be a circumstance that you control.
Interesting. I often put it in the result line if I have to put it somewhere, because the result, but it's totally not because it's not the result of our actions. Yeah.
Right.
It just is who we are.
It is
And
what we
then,
decide it is, just like a
yeah,
circumstance. Like I
right.
decide where I live. I decide
Yeah, that's
what I am doing with my life, right? That's a decision. Your identity is a decision, and that comes from knowing who you really are, who you were created to be.
Yeah, I was just exploring this on a podcast the other day about whatever it was about. So the model is like figuring out human brains, and like our
Yeah.
human condition. And like if you ask Jody Moore, where does God fit in the model? She's like, he's not in the model because he's God. Like this is a human thing. And God is like above the model. Like my thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are not your ways, And so so our eternal self, right? Same thing, right? That's the goal, right? Is to get back to who we were, who will always be, but we're stuck like in this earth life where we're
like
stuck
to
in the model.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, is to remember who we were and live into them forever. And so we're kind of above the model, like our identity, like you're saying, our inherent self, who we inherited, who we are from God. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
The model is just a description of your thoughts, feelings, actions, and results.
Yeah. And you are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your actions. You are not your result even. You just are who you are. So good. Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's tap on "You're Not Wrong" one more time, because I feel like we keep saying we're going to talk about it, but we haven't like really talked about it. Is there anything else you want to say about that you're not wrong?
You're not wrong. I like to say it this way because I always like to frame stuff for my brain in the positive.
Nice.
Because
you are right.
Yes, you are always right. Always. Because being right is a momentary thing, a moment by moment thing. And you are always doing it right because you're always doing the best you can.
You're just doing what you did. It just is.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, I mean, if you think about, I think people struggle a little bit with like, you're always doing the best you can.
Yeah, I do.
Because it sounds like it can be better.
Yeah, best.
Right.
Like
but in the moment that you do something, you are always doing the best you can because you're always doing you don't do things that are bad for you based on what you believe at the moment. Right? You don't go, okay, I see that this is good and I see that this is bad and I'm going to do the thing that is bad.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to do that on purpose. That's what to me it means by always doing the best you can. And that's why you're always doing it right.
Interesting.
Because you couldn't do it any other way based on what you're thinking and believing.
Yeah. That. Yeah. Based on what you're thinking and believing. It's the best you could do at that moment. According to your thought, according to the model you were in right in that second.
That's why you're always doing it right.
Yeah. So you mentioned this way at the beginning, like it's kind of easier for me to wrap my head around thinking about a decision, right? So people always want to make the right decision, and that keeps them in indecision, which is a decision, but it's also not moving forward, right? So if you want to make a decision and press forward, then you just make a decision. And it's like you make it right is what we call it. There's no right or wrong decision. There's just a decision you make and you make it right. And so that's literally what's happening 1,000 times a day, like 10, 100,000 times a day, is you're making a decision what to do right this second, what to say right this second, whether to breathe or not, to remember to take a breath. Like we're making these decisions all the time. And we're making them right. We're just dealing with it. It's like that decision has been made. It's in the past now. It's just a circumstance. And now what, And so just really believing that everything you do is in alignment at that second with your current model that you're living in. And yeah, you can do something different the next second. That's the beauty of the future, to learn from the past. And then we can be something different in the future, but really like we just are right. Like we don't have to make ourselves wrong, because you can play that out and see what happens when you make yourself wrong. It's the muck stuck that you're in right now. So if you want to get unstuck from the muck, trust me, this works. And it sounds so counterintuitive, but just try it.
Yeah. That's the thing, is you just have to try it and see what happens, because it is. And that's and believing that you're always right is sort of goes back to that whole thing that I said about keep letting yourself off the hook, keep living in grace.
Yes. Because God is good. God is right. Like if you did something you think is wrong, you've got that healthy amount of guilt, whatever. We have repentance. Christ came for that perfect reason. so that we can get ourselves out of the muck. Like, you don't have to stay down there beating yourself up about anything. Like, it's happened. It's possible to move on thanks to him.
Yeah.
So good. So you are right, because you're aligned with him and he
You
can
are
make it right.
always right.
Yeah. And so if you're listening to a podcast or learning from some course or, whatever the thing is, and someone says something that you're like, ooh, I'm not doing that, you're not wrong. That's just something someone said. Jill
Yeah.
did a reel about
Yeah.
this the other day. It was so good because we have a mutual person that we both look up to that says things all the time that we're like, wait, huh? And we're like, oh, okay. Like, you just have to pass it through your own filter. Like, is that something I want to believe? Is that
Exactly.
like, and if it's not, then it's like, great, he can think whatever he wants. She can think whatever she wants. And I'm gonna do me. Like, you
Yeah.
just do you. And you're right.
And that doesn't always mean that you're not going to change, but when something comes to your awareness that wasn't in your awareness before,
Yeah.
you can always redecide. You can
Yes.
say, oh, I didn't have that information before. Do I want to do something differently?
Yeah.
What do I like about the way I did it? What don't I like about the way I did it? What do I want to do differently?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a tiny tweak. Maybe you decide, nope. I mean, just like I did. When they said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it wrong. And then I looked at it and I said, but am I? I mean,
but I like how I'm doing it.
don't I get, yeah, exactly. That's what I like. That's what works for me.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing it wrong. I'm doing it right for me.
Yes.
And
And
so I'm
your
going to keep doing
people
it that way.
like it too. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, so good. Okay, so tell people where they can find you and what you help them
I
with.
am on Instagram, on Facebook. I have a website, jillwrightcoaching.com, and that's Wright, WRIGHT.
Because you are right.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so
yeah.
good.
You are always right. I am always right.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
when I first met my husband, I told one of my best friends from high school, we were talking, and I was like, I think I finally met Mr. Right. I mean,
That's
like
right.
literally.
Yeah, that's
But
so fun.
yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Jill the Connection Coach, jillwrightcoaching.com. I have a podcast. I just changed the name, but it's called Connect the Dots. And it's just all about connection, connecting to the right things, disconnecting from the wrong things. And right and wrong isn't the way that we just talked about. It's just the best way to describe the
Yep.
things that are serving you and the things that aren't serving you.
Yes, so good. Okay, awesome. And then let me remind the listeners about my current offer, because I don't have an outro on these videos. So if you want to see the video version, go to Spotify. And that's why when you're listening to podcasts, if it's an interview, it sounds weird. Because anyway, so right now I'm doing this fun thing called RBCs, which is a relationship boost call. So we just get on Zoom together, and in just 15 or 20 minutes, the relationship will be boosted. So all you have to do is come with someone in mind that you want to improve your relationship with. And they're super fun. And people are getting amazing results, if I do say so myself. And they do say so themselves too. So anyway, and then if you want more help believing that you are a good mom, go to dropthewar.com/believe to get my free pre-recorded masterclass about that. And I guess that's it, Jill. Thanks so much for being here, Mrs. Wright. I'm
Thanks
glad
for
we're
having
all
me.
right
This is
now.
super fun.
Yeah, so you dropped the war on being wrong because you're right. So that's us.
Love it.
Okay, see you.